دایی یه فرصت خوب حالا پشت مدافع خداداد عزیزی توی دروازه گل برای ایران خداداد عزیزی باز هم روی زمین گشت سردار آزمون به توی دروازه سردار آزمون گل به نام آزمون برای ایران
بزنه کریم انصاری گل توی دروازه کریم انصاری دروازه پرتغال باز شد
علی دایی سام توپ توی دروازه
اشتباه حرکت از کوچان نژاد فرصت برای کوچان نژاد توی دروازه گل برای ایران.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of Goal Bezan. My name is Sina and I'm joined by Arya and Daniel as always. Gentlemen, it's so nice to be back on the pod. How are you both?
I'm very good, Sina. Glad to be back on the podcast again. Speaking about our World Cup qualification, we're very close to getting there, and just one more game, one more win, and we're almost there.
Yeah, it's exciting times. It is very exciting times. So this episode will be talking about the squad list that has been announced literally this morning by Skocic, and then we'll preview the Iran-Iraq match to be played on Thursday, January 27th at home as well. It's in Tehran. And we've actually got female supporters in attendance, which is really cool. We always love seeing that. And then we'll also have a short segment with Hassanane and Balal from Iraq Football Podcast as well. So let's jump into it, guys. So 27 players called up. Only Yassin Salmani and Surush Rafai are dropped from the previous squad. And then Shahab Zaidi has been called up as a new addition. I think we've talked about that as well. I think, Arya, you mentioned in the last previous episodes that you wouldn't be surprised if he was going to be called up. And yeah, he has been called up. Obviously, Purali Ganji and Ali Karimi are still injured. And yeah, apart from that, it's pretty much exactly how we expected from previous ones. So I guess overview, just for very briefly, Arya, does anything stand out from that squad to you?
No, I think it's pretty much as is. I think the squad is good for the players we have available. I think there was two players, as you mentioned, Mehdi Medipur and Amir Hossein Zadeh, who were called up, but obviously couldn't make it due to COVID-19. Other than that, it's not a surprise. I think maybe Saleh Ardani, who is obviously one of the right backs in the team, he's not been in great form for Fulham and he's actually lost his place in that team to Moshabu Najarian. But Daniel Esmaili is probably the only guy I could really see replacing him. As far as that's concerned, the squad is good. I'm glad to see Shahab Zahidi in the team as well. We interviewed him recently. He was very excited to be joining this national team since he hasn't been called up before. And other than that, yeah, it's a good team. Let's just go to these matches and get our win.
Yeah, I mean, we're only like one win away from qualification, which is really exciting. I think this squad, I know we've got a few injuries, obviously a couple COVID cases, but I think overall, obviously we've got as well, we'll get into when we get into the squad, we've got a few other like niggles that they might not feature in the team against Iraq. But yeah, it seemed like a really good squad so far. And I think if we just jump into the sort of like positions, who would you kind of expect to start from a goalkeeping standpoint? Daniel, who do you reckon was going to start? Because obviously we talked about the different goalkeeping positions. In my opinion, I think Allahverdi would start this game, but what do you think?
Yeah, actually, I agree with you, Athena. I think Allahverdi should start. He did a very good game last time, and he's playing well with his club, so he's better form than Bayram Van. So I think he deserves a start.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Allahverdi probably does deserve to start, because he has been playing for Ponferradina. He's done really well. His club is, one of the top teams now in the Segunda Liga in Spain. And Bayram and Niazman aren't starting for their team regularly in Portugal. So based on that, yes, I think Allahverdi probably deserves to start, but I don't believe Skocic is going to change much, especially the fact that he's not really changed much in the squad. It's basically the same squad that he was called up in the last camp. And based on that, I just don't feel like he's going to change much in his starting lineup either. I believe it will be the same lineup that he maybe played against, in the series. In the last game, it could be a bit different. Maybe he brings, obviously, Taremi will be back in. But other than that, I think it'll be pretty much the same. I think Bezan will keep his spot against Iraq.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the goalkeeping position many times, and I think like they're all sort of top goalkeepers now, and we're pretty lucky there. I think the one position, going forward is the defenders, especially the centre backs. I know, obviously, we spoke about last episode the whole like Hassanane incident. We won't jump into that in this episode at all, but the bottom line is he has been called up for the squad. He is in the squad, despite what some reports have said, but he's definitely made the squad. But I guess for the centre-back partnership, obviously Prolaganji is still injured. Do you think Skocic will stick with that Khalizadeh and Kanani partnership, or will he like deviate, given that as well Majid Hosseini's been playing pretty well in Turkey?
For me, Majid Hosseini has done really well these last couple of months. He's getting his spot back in Turkey. He's doing well. His team isn't doing always particularly well, but he's doing well as an individual. Now, whether that means he should be starting for Iran, that's up for debate, because obviously, having said that, Kanani and Khalilzadeh have been good for the national team as a pair. Say what you want about them individually, but they've been good as a pair. They've kept pretty much, all the games without a defeat, not conceded that many goals either. So you can't really go ahead and drop them. Obviously, there was the whole thing about, is Kanani going to get dropped in the squad? We mentioned on the last podcast that he wouldn't get dropped and he would be called up. There was some news surrounding, Iranian media saying that he could be dropped, and we even reported it as well as a report from other media in Iran. However, we were correct in the fact that he was called up, and I don't think he will get dropped from the starting lineup. I don't believe Khalilzadeh will either. But we'll see. We'll see. Majid is a player who's great in his ball playing abilities, so he could really add a different element to this defense. But whether he starts, I don't really see it happening.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think going into like kind of the fullback position, I think Moharami's pretty much got that position on lockdown. But the other side, I would like to see Nur Afghan starting. I don't know about you guys personally, but I think Nur Afghan, in my opinion, for club and country, has been playing pretty well. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, actually, he was very interesting in the last game he played, and I think he can do very well there. He's good physically. He can play like 100% all the game, and he has an immediate impact when he's playing. So I really like him.
Yeah, me too. I think Nur Afghan's actually been quite impressive, not only for Iran, but also for Sepahan. He's done really well in the league this season, despite Sepahan's maybe shortcomings recently. He has stood out in that team. And I don't really see how Milad Mohammadi could replace him. Although Milad Mohammadi has been a regular starter for AEK Athens in the Greek league, I would say that Skocic will stick with Nur Afghan for continuity, and also because he just seems a little bit more up for it than Milad, especially defensively. I think, although Milad probably is a better defender all round than Nur Afghan, it could be argued, but I think Nur Afghan is he just seems more up for it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. What about kind of the midfielding like position? I know obviously Ezzatollah, he's recently got a loan move as well. He's gone to the Middle East from Denmark. I mean, it probably won't affect his national team playing, like, because I don't know, like it's a 6-month loan, and then he'll kind of either go back to Denmark or transfer. I think he's probably going to transfer. But kind of from that midfield, Daniel, what do you kind of make from it? Who would you like to see in the midfield? Obviously, like this is like a lineup that we discussed many times, but I guess, what would you like to see?
Well, I think side will start with Nurulahi they've been playing pretty well in the last games, and with Skocic, and Skocic loves Nurullahi, it seems so, and he will play alongside Said in the midfield. But maybe we'll have a 3 midfield or a 2 midfield. We still don't know. And the thing is that even if we go for a 4-4-2, if Amiri is playing as a left midfielder on the sheet, he can play like defensively as a central midfield and offensively as a left midfield. So, but these 3 players will start. Like, there's no doubt about that. The only doubt is about, I think, Safi. He played well in the midfield, but I'm not sure he will start this time.
Safi, he hasn't really been playing regularly for his club in Greece, again, AK Athens. I think that, as you mentioned, I think a midfield 3 of Said, Ahmad, Nurulahi, and Vahid Amiri is quite likely to be played, especially with the fact that Zadeh will probably start as well on the right hand side. Taremi and Azmoun coming back. You might even see a 4-4-2 again. Vahid might play on the left midfield. So I think he will play a 4-4-2 most likely, but always with that 4-4-2, you see Vahid being a little bit more central. So it's a quite a flexible formation, but we'll see what happens. I think it's good. Salman Ghoddos is obviously that kind of guy who we like to see play because he's quite creative, but Salman, he's not playing enough for Brentford. He's not getting the game time that he needs, and when he does play for Iran, sometimes he can be a bit hit and miss. Sometimes he'll be really good, and sometimes he's not very good. As that famous meme by Gattuso. So yeah, look, I think we need to see a consistent team, and hopefully a team that's just going to get the job done. That's the most important thing.
Does Alireza Javanbakhsh make this squad? Like, does he as in he's made the squad, but does he start?
Yeah, of course. Javanbakhsh could start. I think it's between him and Qualifiers. I think he might play Qualifiers and Javanbakhsh together on maybe both on the wing. But I don't really see him dropping Vahid Amiri. So I do think it's going to be between him and Qualifiers. They're both in good form. Recently Javanbakhsh just scored a goal today. Qualifiers is playing well. He's creating a lot of chances, not a lot of goals. They've lost their striker, Charleroi. Shamar Nicholson just left. So, they both got a chance to start. I just think I would prefer to see Qualifiers at this start, but Javanbakhsh is always there.
Yeah, actually, and we can have Amiri playing as a left back too. So Javanbakhsh and Qualifiers could both start. So, but we'll see. We have many options, and I think I'm not sure, but I think Skocic likes to have either Ehsan Hashsafi, because he's the captain, or Javanbakhsh, one of them, on the pitch always. So he has one of the captain or the vice captain on the pitch.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. It's a very good point. And then what do you I think Syed Manesh will be a pretty good super sub, and obviously Khaedi I think will be a good super sub to come on in the kind of like 20 minute mark, to like 20 minutes left mark.
We'll come to Qaidi later on with one of our fan questions. He hasn't been in great form for Shabab Al Ahly in Emirates, but on Al Ayar, Al Ayar is a guy who has just so much potential. He can do a lot of things. He can really benefit Iran in so many ways, because he can play on the wing, he can play as a striker, he can play as a supporting striker. He's got a lot of you've got a lot of options with him in the team, so it's good that he's there, and he got an assist in his last game as well. But let's just see what happens with him, because obviously he needs to find a club as well. He needs to go to I think Hull City are looking to sign him, so we'll see what happens with that. But as long as Al Ayar is playing regularly at club level, his ceiling is very, very high.
Yeah, I think like yeah, we've pretty much covered the midfield and kind of like the winger situation. I think yeah, we should probably go on to the attackers now. Before we hit record, you did say Arya that Sardar Azmoun is holding a bit of a knock. Is there any kind of like news there? Do you think he'll start?
Yeah, he was. Obviously, the Russian league is now stopped, so he hasn't played any matches for a little while now. So I think he will start if he's available. I think he will start. It could be a risk, but it's a risk worth taking, especially if the qualification to the World Cup is on the line. You know, it's a risk I think worth taking.
Yeah, and especially against Iraq, because we know how difficult this game could be. Uh, they like to make things difficult for us. So I think if Azmoun and our best players are available, he will start them.
Yeah, I think as well from a moral standpoint, from like a confidence standpoint, he's recently just obviously yesterday got his move to Leverkusen, and I guess like we've got a bit of time, we could talk about it a little bit, and then move on to the Iraq football podcast interview that we did. Like, what would that do for like confidence of Osman? I know he's been trying to get out of Zenit for a while now, and obviously he's got the permission now because his contract's up at the end of the season. So like he's the one that can make the decision here. Arya, what do you kind of make of that move? What do you think that would do for his confidence going into this game? Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, look, for me, I think I said it before when we were speaking about it on one of our previous podcasts, covering transfers. I think Leverkusen is one of the best clubs he could have went to. I know he had offers, like, well, we think he had offers, but we don't know for sure, from Juventus and AC Milan. First of all, Juventus, I don't think they've been very good this season. I know they're a big club, and I know they've got Champions League in sight, but realistically, if he went to Juventus, I don't really see how a guy like Allegri would play him very, very often, especially the fact that he's got Morata there already. He was doing all right in Serie A. And he plays with a one striker formation. I just don't see how that would work for him. AC Milan, never going to happen. They've got too many strikers, right? So Leverkusen are a good club, a very well-run club who will look after him. They will make sure that his potential is elevated, to its optimum level. And I think that he will do well in Bundesliga. I think it's a league that will suit him, a player of his talent, of his stature, of the aerial ability that he has, the way he's able to bully defenders, the way he did against Chelsea in the Champions League, for example. He will have a big impact in that league. And I think that they've signed a really good player. And yeah, it will be big for his confidence.
Yeah. Daniel, what do you kind of make of his move? And like, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. I really think Asmun could have gone to other clubs, but he waited for the right opportunity. We thought that Leverkusen would have been this summer, but yeah, it was difficult with Zenit. The club didn't let him go. And right now we had many speculation about him leaving to Lyon, but Lyon is struggling. Even if I think it's not that much a bad move, because if you're playing well one season at Lyon, you go to private clubs on the next season. But Leverkusen is doing really well. They will surely qualify for the Champions League. So if it's a league where he can shine. We had many Iranians shining there, and we're just looking forward to see him play in there.
All right, sweet. So we've heard of the Iran squad going into this game. So now let's hear from the Iraq camp. So we had an interview with Hassanane Balal from Iraq Football Podcast, and this is what he had to say.
All right, I'm joined by Hassanane Balal from the Iraq Football Podcast, a good friend of ours. Good to have you back on, Hassanane. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. It's always a pleasure being on here. I'm sure we've got plenty to discuss today, so let's jump into things.
Perfect. So obviously, Iraq have a new manager now. Dick Advocat left. What's the latest with the Iraqi camp situation? How they adapt into this new regime?
It's been a very strange one, if I'm honest with you. The last couple of months have been absolutely insane. I remember about a year ago, or feels like a year ago, it could have been more. I came on your podcast and I talked about how the lack of expats have been problematic for Iraq and how they're like systematically pushed away. The last few months have seen the complete opposite happening. Dick Advocate got, he resigned from his position, unfortunately, at a very terrible time for Iraqi football. But consequently, his assistant manager, Petrovic, came in. And there's been a very, very big emphasis on the inclusion of expat players and the removal of a lot of the what I call the 2013 generation of Iraqi local players. The likes of Ali Adnan, Humam Tariq, etc., who you'll be very familiar with. They've been systematically pushed out of the team, and they've been replaced by newer, younger, fresher players from the Olympics and from our expat team. It feels like every time I come on here, I say this, but Iraq are in a very transitional period. But this transition, the problem is, it doesn't ever seem to end. And it's been going on forever. But the additions of the likes of Ali Al-Hamadi, the young kid, former Swansea under 23 player of the year, now he's starting up front for us. You have, for example, Zidane Iqbal, who's a huge addition. He's been hoping to play for Iraq for some time now, and I've worked very closely with him to actually make this happen. And hopefully, it's going to be a situation where I'd imagine he will definitely get minutes, but will he start or not? I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he does start, though. The likes of Justin, Jilwan, they're no longer in the picture for various different reasons, but there's also some other new young players I've mentioned from the Olympics, the likes of Ahmed Sartib, Ahmed Farhan, Fouqiya. These are very promising players that are going to come in, and it's a tough game, if I'm honest with you. Iran are a fantastic team, I've always said this, but I think it'll be a valuable experience. I can't personally see us winning or qualifying for the World Cup, and I didn't really see us doing it back then when we first played the first and second games. But what's going to happen this game? I don't know. Iraq-Iran is always a difficult match. Anything can happen between us, and sometimes we win, sometimes you guys win.
The last game, I think it kind of shocked even Iranian fans by how much control the Iranian team had over Iraq. They were able to kind of control the game from the get-go and score goals. But how do you think this will it have any difference in this match? Do you think it will be harder for Iran to get through this time around? How do you see it going, and what's your prediction?
I think it will be a bit harder. I think definitely Iraq are going to play a more defensive setup. That game against Iran with the Advocate previously was a catastrophic tactical disaster. He tried to take on Iran and play an attacking style of football, and it backfired. In terms of that game being dominated by Iran, I kind of disagree with this point. I think what happened was that Iran just showed that their quality was amazing, and they made their chances count, and Iraq didn't have the quality to create those chances. But we had a lot of possession of the football. The problem is, if you can hold the ball but not create anything, it's not really in your favor. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this time around. I think Iraq will most likely play on the counter. It's an Iranian home soil. The pitch is going to be in your favor, and from memory, it's quite a broad, wide pitch, isn't it? So I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of gaps and spaces for the Iranian side to try to exploit. So Iraq will have to keep a tight shape. We're missing Rabin Sulata, but the good news is Yasser Qasim is back and he's in good form. And Saad Abdel Amir, he's reignited his international career after, let's just say, a hiatus of a couple of years now. So those are two good holding midfielders. I think that will provide a very good defensive shield for Iraq. Hopefully, it will prevent the same problems that happened against Iran last time around.
Appreciate it, Hassanane. Thanks again for your time. Hopefully, you guys, obviously, again, it's been a tough qualifiers for you, but hopefully, as the team progresses, we see a better Iraq coming through. And I think there's so much talent in this team, but there's always potential. So let's just.
No, I'm not sure we're going to qualify, if I'm honest with you, and it doesn't really matter. Main thing is that we make progress, but I'm happy to see you guys have qualified. I genuinely think you're a fantastic team, despite the fans from various Iranian websites sending me abuse. I genuinely wish you guys good luck in the World Cup, and all the best.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so really good interview that we just had. Let's just talk about the preview of the Iran-Iraq game. There's no VAR. Firstly, we should probably put that in there. I guess we've already spoken a little bit about how we're going to line up, but from your perspectives, it'd be really good to hear sort of how we should, what are the keys for victory in this game? And then we'll go on to like predictions, because Iraq's a very good team. There's a long-standing rivalry there. How can we win this game?
Yeah, look, the keys to victory for the national team, I believe, we just need to be able to keep the ball, keep possession, frustrate Iraq. Iraq are going again through another transition period, which is a bit ridiculous because they've got so much talent, but they have to go through another period of transition, and Iran can really capitalize on that. Obviously, I'm sure the Iraqi team will want to come in and prove a point and show that they're not as bad as they were in the previous game. But I believe with the quality that we have, with Taremi and Azmoun up front, with the likes of Zadeh and Javanbakhsh providing the support, I don't really see where Iraq can kind of stop that threat. Defensively, we have to be very solid, which we have been. And I think the most important thing is not lose your heads, because again, it's a derby. It's our first match in the stadium with fans in quite a little while. So we need to keep our heads. Other than that, just go and score some goals, because we can do that. We won 3-0 last time, and that was away. That was a Qatar. So I'm expecting a good game.
Yeah, and actually it was only 4 months ago, so we can do it again for sure. We see that Scottish like stability. We can see it in the squad, and we have pretty much the same players. So if they play at their best against Iraq, we can do score 2 or 3 goals. But we need to stay focused all the game, because they have some nice players. They can be a threat sometimes. They even scored, actually. They equalized on the last game, but it was ruled out for offside. So yeah, we have to be focused, because we know they will make things very difficult for us, but we can go with a nice result at the end.
Yeah, you are right, Arya. They're definitely going through a transition phase, and like they haven't been too good. Their form hasn't been fantastic. I literally just look now, and it's like their last game that they won was against Hong Kong. It was a 1-0 victory in June. It's like a long time ago, and obviously they played many games in that period as well. Like they lost their last game, Qatar. It was like 3-0 or something. So like it is a very good time to play them. Especially with a squad like ours at the moment, where confidence is fairly high. We've got like a full strength squad, I would say, apart from like a few injuries and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty good. I think that brings us very nicely to predictions of the game. So I guess I'll just go first. I think a pretty easy 2-0 for me. Arya, what do you think?
I think we'll score quite a few goals on Thursday. I think I'm expecting 3 or 4-0. I believe Azmoun and Taremi, if they are sharp and looking to score goals, I think they can score a couple between them. So hopefully we see that.
Yeah, I'm going for a 3-0. 3-0.
Cool. That brings us very nicely to fan questions to finish it off.
Yeah, so we got quite a few fan questions on Twitter. I do appreciate everyone sending them in. The first one comes from Mr. Sam Siam. We come back to the question you asked earlier. He says, if I was to quote exactly what he says, please discuss the decline of Mehdi since playing in the UAE Shopping Mall League. That's his words, not mine. And Cover Azai, who hasn't scored, like he says, Cover Azai hasn't scored in almost a year. So, look, I think both players are in bad form. Mehdi Qaidi, his choice to go to, as you called it, the shopping mall league in the UAE, they have to eventually get rid of him. I think he will move eventually to Europe. I think it will happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll be really surprised. And that's when he can really show himself. I don't think that him moving to UAE has done anything for him at all. I think he was better off just staying in Esteghlal. But yeah, it's disappointing from his. And then Kavarizai, I'm okay with him being in the squad. You know, I don't really mind. I do believe that Ali Pour probably deserved it over him, because he's doing all right in Portugal. He's scoring some goals. But Kavarizai is an experienced player. I think he maybe wants some experienced heads in that camp, and he won't play. You know, Kavarizai, he's not going to play, so it doesn't really make a difference. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, he's like fourth choice striker, and then like because
Yeah, I mean,
like
Shalb
Ansari
Zahedi's
Fad
there
is
as well now. You know
yeah, and also like the substitutes that he would make, he probably wouldn't do striker for striker. He'd probably bring
No.
on like a strong midfielder, you know, like
Mm.
Samson, or like if Javanbakhsh isn't playing, then he'll bring him on. Like so, yeah, it's a difficult position that he's in, really.
Daniel, I'll ask you this one. Thoughts on Hassanane from Esteghlal? Have you seen him play before?
No, not yet.
No. Hassanane is a very talented attacking midfielder. You know, he's done well. He's scored some goals this season. Obviously unlucky with COVID, but he was called up initially, and obviously he had to get dropped. But yeah, again, same as Yasin Salmoni, we've got a lot of talented players. We need to just see these guys, you know, starting to progress in their careers. You know, hopefully that does happen. Let's say someone's asking, why is Yazdani there? I think that's from at Jerkface86. Yeah, he tested negative for COVID, so that's why he's in. And that Hassanane question was asked by at ERI 1806. Other question we have from at Arjan Kiani says, should I bet on Iran winning the first half or Iran winning the full time? Honestly, I'd be very surprised if we don't win the first half. I think we'll start the game quite strongly. What about you guys? Do you think we'll?
We don't condone betting as a channel
Betting.
anyway, right?
Of course. Last question we got from at Amir SH. He asks, do you think a new centre-back duo should be tested? I don't know. Maybe against UAE, if we qualify, you know, through past Iraq, maybe against UAE you can play Majid, for example. But even then, we're still going for first place. If we qualify against Iraq, it's not finished. We still have to finish first place. That's the objective. So no, I think keep what's going on just now. Kanani and Khalilzadeh, I think it should be okay.
Yeah, and actually Skocic likes stability and continuity, so he will start the same two center backs. But when we'll be qualified, because I really think we will, then he can try new things if he find the need to.
Yeah, I agree. I think like in the UAE game, if we qualify against Iraq, of course, he should probably a bit more liberal with the substitutions. He should probably like substitute Kanani out maybe minute 60, or Khalid. Although to be fair, he does do that anyway, you know. So like I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe just keep it the same and just do more substitutes.
That's us. All the fan questions.
Okay, sweet. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys, and thanks again to Iraq Football Podcast for their time on coming onto the channel. And thank you again for listening. Don't forget, we have an article before the game on our website, and also we'll do a live Twitter space before and after the game on Thursday. So stay tuned and follow us on all social media and podcast platforms. From myself, Sina, Arya, and Daniel, I'll see you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Said Azatollah and you're listening to the Bezan podcast.